live stream. You should be there any minute. I think we might.
I think we're
Does it
live
say-
streaming.
I think
Are
we're
we?
live.
Are we? Does it say live? Oh, there we go. We're live. Okay. It always takes me a minute. Sorry, guys.
It's
Okay.
like doing it for 10 seconds. Oh, we're live streaming. Everyone else is the one person's watching, like, okay, hurry it up.
There's like one person waiting out there.
Yeah.
People watch it after. All right. So here we are, guys. I'm really excited. I have a story. Happy New Year. I have a story to tell. Well, I have two stories to tell. First one is I burned my mouth drinking hot chocolate right before we came on. So we're going to see how this goes.
Yeah, because Zach, it's so cold where we are. We've got to drink those warm drinks.
Hey,
that's exactly right.
You do you.
That's exactly right. I got my little space heater, my hot chocolate, my Uggs. Meanwhile, it's negative 37 for Zach.
Yeah. That's with a wind chill adjusted though, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah, what's the actual temperature?
Is -3.
Negative 2, -3.
Oh,
right around there.
I know, right? It's nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. So,
I was in Montana last month. Yeah, we had 2.
All right, let's quickly disclaimers. Okay. So
okay.
We have to remind everybody that this is not a substitute for mental health treatment, that this is really for informational purposes only, and that if you're experiencing a mental health crisis, at least here in the United States, we dial 911 or you go to your nearest emergency room. We also have the warm line, which is 988. So if you're troubled and you're not sure what to do, 988 is a wonderful option here in the United States. Okay.
Given what we just talked about with temperature, the warm line is for mental health, not weather related.
That's right. Wouldn't it be nice though, right? If people could just go, I want the warm line. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, I promised that I would tell this story before we got started to our viewers. And I want to tell this story because usually Jon tells us these stories of these harrowing moments where he almost died tripping off a curb or whatnot. But this time I have my own story that I'd like to tell because it's just...
You defied the odds.
Yeah, defied the odds. So now it wasn't actually me. It was my husband and my son. So I was at work. And what happened was that they were going off to a movie together. As they're leaving the house, they are about to close the garage door and they see smoke coming from the garage. They go inside and there is a box on fire in the garage. Now get this. I had been like donating some old items. One of those items was a small mirror, like you'd use on a vanity. That mirror was sitting on one side of the garage, caught the afternoon sun, shined a beam of light across the garage, and lit a cardboard box on fire. I am not kidding. Okay.
I believe you.
On fire. Okay. And my first thought, of course, when my husband told me was, oh my God, I can't wait to tell this on my OCD channel. But also, like, then I was thinking, well, surely there must have been something, right? Like, oh, we should know. Like, I mean, no, how can you possibly know that something like this could happen? But stuff like this happens all the time. And it just, it made me think of Jon, right? It's just really dumb luck that any of us are here. And it's dumb luck that we have our home and that those poor folks in the Palisades and in the Eden area don't, right? It's like, it's just a small miracle. And if they had left, just 10 minutes earlier, we wouldn't have known. We wouldn't have known.
Well, you would have known. It just would have had a much different outcome.
Oh, yeah.
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 We may not be doing our live stream today if a different outcome too.
Well, it was a few days ago. I expect her to show up.
That's true. Yeah.
Me showing up from a hotel room
I
somewhere.
mean, her office didn't burn down.
Thanks, Jon. And Jon would have been the most
and And, with all that damage, she has to work because they're going to be, regardless of insurance, they're going to need the money.
That's true.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's so true. All those poor people from these fires that are now not getting enough money from their insurance. It's terrible. Anyways, okay. Moving right along.
Story, though.
So I have a loose plan for today because we've had a few questions about this that have sort of circled around this issue. And so we started talking about the possibility of maybe even doing this as a presentation for the upcoming, or trying to do this as a presentation for the upcoming IOCDF conference. And I really liked the idea. And so I thought we could talk about it today. And the idea is that, so many different forms of OCD come with this fear of making decisions, or sort of a constant indecisiveness. And I've seen so many versions of this, like, well, if I have a strong instinct or urge that suggests that I should be doing something else, isn't that meaningful? Isn't that my gut? Shouldn't I listen to that? And so I thought maybe we could talk about how we manage indecisiveness and how we deal with the potential sort of fallout from the decisions that we make.
I like it.
Jon, would you like to start, or Zach, would you like to start?
Well, I'm on the other end of the spectrum. I'm more of a ready, fire, aim type of guy.
Yeah. You don't say, Zach.
So like
that's how we ended up living in a place where the wind chill is minus 37.
That's right.
No, that's all my wife's fault, actually. So.
Damn.
No, but I can relate because I do hear that quite often from clients, but I also know that if you make a decision, then you can also then make another decision, and then another decision, and it never stops. Right. Decisions don't ever stop. So, and times where I thought I was really right, like say Sunday, when the Bears had the ball in overtime, and they were marching down the field until they threw the interception, I was certain they were going to win until they didn't, and I was heartbroken. So
yeah,
there you go.
And I get to do second best.
Yes.
Go.
I really wanted the Eagles.
Ooh, yeah.
But they just pain. But maybe the Rams. Okay.
I have nothing good to comment from this. And so I really don't. I don't follow sports. We're talking about sports, right? I'm assuming.
Oh, no. We were talking about fishing.
Okay. Well, that I might have something to say about.
I love that. That's awesome. You're like, this is sports, right? That's great.
But it does. I mean, when we think about, if we have to think of sort of specific examples, the ones that have come up that folks have been talking to me about, it's things like, when we're sort of stuck in this moment that we have intrusive thoughts hitting us from different sides. Should I not? My gut is telling me this. And then 5 minutes later, my gut is strongly telling me not to do what my gut just told me to do 5 minutes ago. And how do we have clients proceed when they're in the throes of that sort of obsessive rumination?
Have I mentioned that
oh, and I just realized I don't have my AirPods in. Go ahead.
That the only foreign language I really speak besides English is I do fluent cliche.
That's a good one.
And and it's not, I think cliches are underrated. I think they can be superficial if I don't really think about them. Like if I say Othello is about jealousy, well, that's true. But if that's as deep as I go, I'm really kind of missing the whole point. So I think each cliche is like worth an entire book. It's only superficial if I don't really think about it. Anyway, so I think one of my premises for dealing with what you're raising is, and I really like this particular cliche because I think I made it up. Success is not making the right decision. Success is coping with the consequences of whatever decision you made. Everything, as you wonderfully pointed out, Katie, is a guess. You know, like you weren't guessing your garage burning down, and you know, it didn't by luck. But it's not like, oh, if only we had done X or Y. Everything's a guess. I mean, you know, in terms of trusting the gut, which I think is pretty funny, because except for the people who are psycho, on your wedding day, you're pretty sure this is going to be forever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got that feeling. And in the US, that about 40 to 50% of the people getting married guessed wrong. That's what your gut is worth.
Yeah.
Something that's wrong almost half the time. And, you know, people with OCD really wanting to have that feeling of certainty, it's like, it's not worth anything. It is comfortable. You know, it feels nice, but just because I feel certain doesn't mean anything.
Mm-mm.
Everything is odds.
Right.
You know, but in the case of getting married, I can't even say the odds are, if I feel like this is going to be good, that that's true. Statistically, it's not that great.
Right. Coin toss.
So I have to be willing. So I can't guarantee what the outcome is. I can decide that no matter what the outcome, my goal is what to do next. Because I think one thing that people talk about, you may have to shut me up at some point. You know,
I'm going to, because I have
good.
a specific question. Would you
Yeah,
like me to stop you now or later?
Oh, I'm going to leave that. I'm not making your decisions. That's your problem.
So that is literally what I was just about to ask. So because I you know, one of the folks that I was talking to, one of the things they were saying was that you know, how do we, you know, what do we say to somebody who says, I don't know if this person I'm dating, if I should keep dating them or not? You know, in the past, I felt like I should, and I turned out to be wrong. And this time I'm like feeling ambivalent. I don't really have a strong gut feeling. Does that mean I should break up with this person and move on? Because I have OCD, and notoriously I question all the decisions I make. So what do I do about this particular dating situation? What do you say, Jon?
Yes,
The first thing I say is there are no shoulds.
exactly.
Not
Talk
a
about
moral
what
question.
did Charles Mansueto say one time? What was it about the shoulds and the brown colored glasses? That's what he told me one time.
I think that's me, but that's okay.
Oh, sorry.
I actually have that graphic.
You do. That's right.
Because there are no definite right answers. You know, we in every decision we make, we get to find out when it's too late. I get married and divorced a year later, I guess that decision sucked. I have 50 blissful years. Looks like I made a good guess. 7 years of bliss followed by 3 years of hell and a divorce. I don't know what you call it, but on my wedding day, I was making a guess.
Mm-hmm.
I can only deal with what's going to happen after the guess. You know, now it's not a completely random guess. You know, even that person, should I stay with this person or not stay with this person? Well, clearly that individual they're pursuing has got something going for them. It's not like, oh, well, you know, this is a homeless drug addict with a criminal history. Do you think I should stay with them? I mean, I hate to make decisions for people, but I think in a statistical way, that's not a good idea. But so I'm making a guess, and it's an educated guess, but odds are odds. As you so eloquently pointed out in the beginning, low probability events happen.
That's right.
You know, so if I'm betting a lot of money, oh yeah, I'm betting your house is not burning because you have a mirror in your garage and an open garage door. Doesn't mean I'm going to win the bet, just mean it's likely. So I have to give up the world where I can make a right decision. And I think I think there are a couple of things that keep people stuck in that decision, that like, oh, I got to make the right decision.
Right.
One is people don't want to have regrets. Anytime a person is regretting a decision, they're making a huge mistake. Because when I regret a decision, I'm playing a game in which I am comparing reality to an alternative reality where everything worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? Every decision you make compared to an alternative reality that's better is wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
The alternative reality is a definite possibility, but it could have been worse. And you've heard, I've only said it too many times. Imagine a woman who's in a 5-year abusive relationship and she's finally gotten out of it and she's in therapy and she's going, Jon, the first month or so, I could kind of see this coming. I wish I'd gotten out. No, you don't.
Yeah.
What? What do you mean? Well, no offense, but 5 years ago, you were the kind of person you could date someone like that. What makes you think you would not have picked somebody worse?
Mm-hmm.
So different decision, definitely different. Would it be a better outcome? Definitely, maybe. So I can, the only thing I can really do is, what do I do next? Not like, oh, this has to work no matter what. Sorry, I don't care what it is. It doesn't have to work.
Right.
What am I going to do next?
Make another decision. Like I said.
Another
Yeah.
guess? Yeah. Right. I have to make another
guess.
But what am I going to do moving future? And I don't want that one to fail. Well, that's nice because I'm pretty sure that I make most of my decisions with the hope they won't fail.
That's true. Well,
I said I'm pretty sure. I have to obsess about that a while, but
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
But
we'll ask you next time. That's true.
But let's imagine the scenario where
Okay.
somebody just becomes very preoccupied about even the simplest things and what the right thing to do is. Like,
oh, sorry,
am
what?
I supposed
Sorry, what?
am I supposed to be?
No, I'm sorry. I would have been interrupting the client right there.
All right, let's hear it, Jon.
I would say, what was your question again? You're in a decision. What's the issue?
Okay. I'm preoccupied by whether it makes more sense to be feeding my kids more protein or to be going in a more low-fat direction, plant-based. I've gotten that one.
I figured.
And judging by the number of the people who are adults who didn't have this issue when they were kids, how critical do you think it is?
I don't know.
I'm asking you to guess.
It could be.
I'm sorry, I didn't ask could it be or not. I'm asking, do you think if we have to bet your kid's right hand.
That's perfect.
You have left-right confusion. That's right.
Oh, I do that. Yeah.
You
have to bet the kid's right hand that one of these diets is going to have a horrible effect on him versus probably not. So, we'll do the experiment and then, if your guess is right, your kid gets to keep his hand. If your guess is wrong, your kid gets to lose his hand. So what's your guess as to how critical this is?
So now you're assuming here that the person is going to have their best guess answer, right?
Oh, well, they don't have any guess. Okay. We're chopping the hand off, so they have to make a guess.
So they have to make a guess. So
and if they say that
their guess is, what if they say their guess is something like, well, maybe it won't impact them within the next 10, 20 years, but it might when they're in their 50s.
That's fine. You still have to make a guess.
Exactly. They're not playing the game then.
You have to make a guess. They're
not doing the exercise.
You have to make a guess now. Yeah, in 50 years, you think that's going to be the thing that's going to be critical, and none of the other life decisions or anything will have an equally big effect. So you tell me, what's the guess?
I'm trying to think.
Part that you have to make. They have to guess.
They have to guess.
They're trying to have it both ways, and it doesn't work. that
I
way.
see exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Uh,
And then the guess would
like,
typically
nope.
be that it's probably not going to be the linchpin.
And I would say that's as good as it gets. I was talking to a new mom who was obsessing about, are they potentially going to be giving the kid the pacifier too much? The newborn.
What is too much?
Oh,
Because I need to
Oh,
know if I fucked
Zach's worried
my
now.
latest kid up. Pardon my
well,
language, but
no, well, to you, Zach, probably, yeah. Well, no, here's the thing. You don't have to worry because there are a whole lot of other ways you fuck the kid up.
that's right.
I just,
Language.
Guaranteed.
I just asked her one simple question.
Okay.
Do you think this decision about the kid's binky is going to affect whether or not they get into Harvard?
No.
It's like, I mean, for all the, because I mean, the material for new moms is psycho.
Right.
Everything is like completely,
Oh,
and it, I have a friend who was the head
Hmm.
of neonatology at Children's Hospital, Pennsylvania, big hospital. And, he was always kind of like, kids are pretty resilient. None of this stuff actually matters. The head of neonatology, so
yeah.
like, it
But
doesn't
you're not going to
matter.
tell a client that, right?
I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to say it probably doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, what's your guess? Again, it's just, you think this pacifier is going to affect them getting into Harvard?
Right.
Do you think if giving them the pacifier interferes with breastfeeding next month, do you think your kid's going to starve to death? Like, what is the long-term negative outcome from this?
Right.
I think for most decisions, it's a guess. And yes, I don't want the bad thing, but I don't get that choice.
Right.
And, and for certain ones you asked earlier, do I stay with this person or not?
Mm-hmm.
I have a really simple question. Are you ready to leave them now?
Typically, the answer is no, that I've
Like,
heard.
yeah. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, then let's have you stay with them and act like this is an obsession. Maybe
And I
you'll
think
be,
that's important for young therapists to hear. I
yeah,
really do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I
Whoever
don't think
you're
that just
with,
applies to young therapists.
yeah,
No,
I mean,
I think you're right.
Personally.
yeah,
No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
yeah. And with the exception of my wife, who is perfect, pretty much anybody you're with, by definition, is going to be second best, right? Because I might want 100 things in a partner. I'm only getting 80 of them.
That's right.
And I like to point out, like, somebody's like, oh, but what if I'm not attractive enough to them? Well, you're in deep trouble, because I want you to know, in 25 years, whoever they are, they're not looking as good. And by the way, and maybe I don't know what your answer is, but if we're talking about your spouse and if she gets breast cancer and has to have a mastectomy, are you leaving her because that's no longer as attractive?
Right. And usually
Maybe
the answer is no. Well, for some people it might be, but for
I'm
most
sure
people
I'm
it's
sure we have
no.
exceptions. Well, it's like,
Yeah.
will that be an adjustment for her and for you? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will she be ideal? No. But even if right now she's the most beautiful person in the world, novelty will still be more interesting than her.
So, what of the folks that are so sort of mired in like minutia of decision making? I remember we had actually consulted on a case a while ago about this. Even just the moment to moment decisions. Should I get up and get a snack, or should I keep watching my show? Should I go to the post office now, or should I wait until later? Right? That they end up all day sort of questioning every small decision.
We're visual right now, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
watching us.
Pie
Round
chart. Okay.
Roundum. Roundom.
Oh,
Roundum, and get the paid version because it's only a few bucks. Random, I have this
Uh-huh.
little chart and I can make it into 10 decisions or I can make it into 2. And I can label them. And really simply, the way it works is I move it. There we go.
Oh, that's awesome.
Ding.
Random is God. Now,
There, you're going to Indonesia. That's it.
oh yeah, that was I'm going to Indonesia.
I was hoping it was Antarctica. That one looks
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Also known as Minnesota right now.
That's right.
You just don't like it. You just don't like to travel and just want to stay where you are.
That's right.
And so some version of rolling a dice, right?
No,
rolling a dice.
But wait. No, but we have a couple of rules.
Yeah.
You have X amount of time to make a decision.
Ah.
And after that time is up, you have to make the decision immediately or you use random. And random is God. That is, you don't get to say like, oh, you know what? On second thought, I really want the other one. It's like, nope. You're using random because we are accomplishing 2 at least clinical things with random. One, we're trying to have you not waste all of your life going back and forth. 2, if you're having trouble making a decision, the answer probably actually doesn't matter that much. You know, I mean, literally, if that's it. I had a person who made a career choice of whether to move to a different university and start and work for a research institute or have their own research institute where they were. And they're having trouble deciding. So we gave them a certain amount of time to work on it. And then they had to use random. They couldn't make the decision on themselves. So random decided where they were.
Wow.
Because the thing is, if it doesn't work, you'll do the other one. You know, it's not like if they spend, you know, because when people want a feeling. Now, feelings are psycho. We don't have control over our feelings. All kinds of crap occurs to us.
It's true.
Good stuff, bad stuff. And the goal isn't like I need to have the right feeling to determine what I do. The goal is I'm guessing what feelings I'm going to allow to control me. In the case of somebody with a decision-making problem, they just have to make one decision. I have to learn to make decisions without having a right feeling.
Right.
You know, because the agony of what I go through trying to get a right feeling is messing up my life and making me miserable.
Right.
So I'm learning to make decisions quickly. You know,
even if it feels wrong.
Well, yeah, because let's face it, even if it feels wrong, it's not like you're having any success making it feel right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's true.
And you can't just practice on making decisions if they feel right or wrong. You got to make decisions no matter how they feel.
Yeah.
Because what if it's neutral?
That's true. That's true.
So I would like to point out, I just go back to my advice that I said, make a decision, and then you just make another decision and another decision. It's really simple.
So you just
it's like simple and easy are not the same.
Yeah.
But that's what we have but that's what we have random for. It's like
I love it.
You're not going to use, okay, fine, random.
All right.
I am definitely going to look at that, John. That's a good idea.
You know, and you have to get them to use it, you know, because a lot of times they like that's cheating or that's too easy. It's like, okay, I'm fine with easy. Or, you know, the goal is that your life isn't spent hours and picking a short time because people always want like a lot of time to figure out. It's like, yeah, you don't need that much time. Right. You know, should I buy car A or car B? I'm sorry. After 15 minutes, you've got all the information you need about the car. You know, and so after that, it is a guess.
That's right.
You know, and I can guarantee
with a car like mine, or where I don't have an armrest.
And I can guarantee that when you're choosing between 2 cars, whatever decision you make, you will regret it.
That's right.
And the goal is like, yeah, I'm going to buy a car And I'm going to keep thinking I should have bought the other car. And my answer to that is, well, it's like that decision's dead. This is my car for a couple of years, so it doesn't matter whether that would have been better or not. This is my car now. Would that have
I
been
gotta
better?
learn to live with it.
Definitely, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you would have
Now,
bought that other car and the brakes would have failed and you'd be dead now, so you wouldn't have to worry about decisions.
you're not talking about me, are you? No. My car just
No,
doesn't
he
have the
doesn't want you dead,
armrest.
I'm pretty
I hope
sure.
not. I hope not. So, John, the other question that we've had, and we'll see if you feel like weighing in on this. Do you have any interest at all in weighing in on this debate over the mechanisms of action underlying successful ERP?
What?
Mechanisms of change.
The mechanisms of change.
I think there are a bunch of different mechanisms, and I don't think there's anything to be gotten by going in circles on discussing them, because when the real issue is how to get patients to implement them and work in a way that's effective for them. That's as close as you're getting.
Let me see if there's other specific questions related
Time
to
out.
that.
Like, I want to add
Go
on
ahead.
to that because
Go ahead.
there is a point to this argument that I always end up on of it doesn't really matter to some degree because it works. So for some people, if it works, they don't give a shit. In fact, probably
Yeah.
quite a few of them. So like, if it works, yeah, it might be nice. We might be able to answer more questions. It can move it forward, but for some practical purposes, it's not always important.
Well,
And I'm on the other side of, yeah, it is. It's really cool.
so yeah, I mean, but one of the things that we could say is that, let's say, for argument's sake, that there is this element of learning that's taking place, and as sort of, and I'm going to paraphrase Mike Trainer, right? That let's say that we're really trying to teach people that the bad thing will not happen, and that it's really not that people are accepting uncertainty, but instead that they get to a point where they feel comfortable with the fact that the bad thing is not going to happen, right?
Well, then they're being fools because the bad thing might happen.
Yeah.
And some of the things people say, like, oh, you don't necessarily have to work along a strict hierarchy. Well, before all the theory suggested you don't have to work along a strict hierarchy, I've not been working on a strict hierarchy for years before that. So I feel there's I'm going to go with Zach that, is there a utility to the theory and is there an underlying logic? And as soon as you tell me I'm helping people know that something's not going to happen, gee, I don't know about that. So I don't even know how I could lie to people that way. Anything might happen. You could have a goddamn garage burned down because you had a mirror facing the sun. You know?
That's true.
I mean, what is wrong with you, Katy, that you had a mirror facing the sun?
I know.
You need to be more careful, young lady.
My first remark was like, maybe we should like not have.
But what about no?
But then I'm like, it was just Christmas when this happened. We had a lot of boxes in the garage. And sometimes you have boxes.
You
in
had
the
probably
garage.
gasoline and chemicals and a bunch of other stuff that's flammable too. That
And what
didn't
if
get
you
lit
had a
on
car
fire.
parked in the garage and the sun hit the mirror of the car?
Oh my God.
Or the rear windshield acted as a mirror. Or what if, because you're a Californian and you have a car that's really clean, so your car was nice and shiny and reflected the sun much better, and that's why you had a fire, because the dirty, dusty car would have not been a good reflecting surface. I'm sorry. There is nothing I know for sure. We're betting money? Cool, I can bet money. But saying like for sure. So anyway, I think some discussions become mental masturbation, which it's something like that. I think is to be done better in private.
Probably true.
I do know this.
Go ahead, Zach.
When we just in having that discussion recently, I think I didn't realize we are probably a lot further away from truly answering that question than I realized.
Yeah.
Which to me just says we need to keep doing research if we want to get to there.
And,
I don't know if we'll ever get there.
and there's a really giant danger with research.
Yeah.
I mean, research is important,
Mhm.
but we are also plagued by GIGO research.
What does GIGO stand for?
GIGO.
Mm-hmm.
It's a term. It's a computer term for programs and stuff, and it stands
Garbage
for
in, garbage out.
right. So
Yeah.
a lot of research, the results are like, I'm sorry, it was garbage to start with. So so it's a very, research is really important, but it is not everything. In the same way that what sounds logical and feels right has some use, but it is not everything. I'm stuck balancing research and clinical issues together, and trying to, as the group of us are primarily clinicians, how am I going to try to take research and use it in the real world in a way that's meaningful, that touches patients?
Yeah.
So can I put this to rest with you, or should I like hammer away some more?
I'm okay.
I haven't gotten to the vicious part yet, so I can stop here.
What's the vicious part? Oh, should I not?
You keep pushing on it, and I get vicious.
What would you say that would be so vicious?
I don't know. I'll find out. I would find out. I don't know. I could. A lot of people think of me as pretty unpredictable, like a, kind of a hair trigger gun. So I figure that's accurate.
He's a loose cannon.
Loose cannon. Sad hope. That was great when you said that the other day, both of you. Some sad hope.
That's right. So, the one other thing I wanted to throw out there. So, I recently, I've been working on this project with the Academy of Cognitive and Behavioral Therapies. And so I get to interview people that are, doing research or, doing other types of work that I think are interesting.
Hey, I'm finally a member of that. Go on.
You are? Oh my God.
I know. I think I'm a fellow.
Good job.
John, oh my gosh, that's exciting. That means I can have you write an article for our blog. That's cool. Anyways, okay. I digress. So that'll be cool.
Before I was a member, you would not want to put anything I write, because why would you?
I would want to publish things that you write. It's just that I wouldn't be allowed to, because it's only for people who are members. But okay, let's get back to the point here. So I had a very, very interesting conversation with Emily Holmes a few weeks ago. And I don't know if you're familiar with Emily Holmes, her research on imagery. Okay. And so Emily is, she's very well known for the work that she does on imagery, specifically for PTSD, but it also has other applications. With the idea being that, that oftentimes there are these incredibly brief, and I think they've timed it to 200 millisecond images that are coming into people's minds that then really trigger a surge of emotions, right? And she had been, I think, working also now with Michelle Krask, and they're having some, doing some research around OCD and exposure work and how her work on imagery might be relevant. And what they're talking about is this idea of, and it's interesting, I see a real application for the kind of stuff that you're already a proponent for. So when you're talking about therapeutic scripts, right, where people are sort of thinking through those worst case scenarios, and then thinking of, for people who don't know what therapeutic scripts are, we encourage people, particularly when it's something that is hard to do a real life exposure for, that we have them write it out in a script. Like, here's what I would do if I was faced with this very difficult situation. Like, here's how I would cope, even in this worst case scenario, right? And that's paraphrasing. There's more to it than that. But one of the things that Emily talks about is this idea that we have to somehow be capturing what it is that's in people's minds, which is something, Jon, that I think you are already doing. I don't know how much you use the word like mental image, but I know that when I've heard the script work that you do, certainly people are conjuring up those very provocative mental images. And so, with some of the work that Emily's done is about, how we kind of work within the image to, sort of do reality testing, right, on the image, or also trying to shift and change the image to one that incorporates more coping aspects, etc., as opposed to just that catastrophic outcome. Or as she's found with her work on trying to have something interfere with the formation of the image, she's using things like playing Tetris as ways to remove the formation of trauma triggering images. Very interesting work.
Huh.
Let's hear what Jon has to say about that.
So you're bringing me back to my dissertation.
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
I want to hear about your dissertation.
Is it?
Was
Wait,
this
first question.
2022 or?
It's typewritten, typewriter, right?
Oh no, it's more bizarre. But I'm gonna skip the how I got around the typing.
Okay.
Orienting and defensive responses and the incremental stimulus intensity effect with speech phobic imagery.
I didn't hear what you just said.
That's all right. But we working on imagery and the physiological responsiveness to imagery versus the words themselves, and different kinds of physiological responses that indicate attention or avoidance. So that was my dissertation a million years ago, and it was a wonderfully little elegant methodology. Because
what did you find? Because that's interesting.
Well, we also had a way of having them attend to the image or interfere with the image.
Mm.
And
what you were talking about, Katie.
Exactly right.
And attending to the image led to a set of processing where they would actually orient to it, and not attending to would lead to something called defensive responses, and there's a whole heart rate profile that goes with that, so that they were actually not paying as much attention to it, but that's actually interfering with habituation. So to say that I'm going to interfere with the imagery as a way to get the person better, that would suggest not. Now, when I was working in Edna Foe in our early OC grants, we did a study. I'm smiling because also one of the most disgusting exposures I've ever done, I did in the course of that study. Maybe after I tell you the study, you can ask me.
You were smiling because of the imagery you got.
Yeah, but
I did get some imagery.
But
I got some too. I was like, "What is it?" I've seen you do a lot of disgusting exposures, Jon.
So it was a study. It was a study. We were looking at contamination under two sets of conditions. We had a person. We'd have people hooked up to a polygraph. Because we're measuring all these physiological responses as well as self-report, and the two conditions were exposure while playing a video game, or exposure where you pay attention to what you're being exposed to. Now, I don't know because I didn't listen to the show, but you're suggesting Emily's looking for ways to interfere.
Yeah.
Well, exposure with avoidance built in interfered with treatment.
Oh, that's true.
So I don't think
I can't wait to hear what Emily will have to say about this.
So I think that the situations and the components of something are really complex, and I think if we're talking about PTSD, and if we look at prolonged exposure as a treatment, we kind of know that I can re-traumatize the person.
Right.
So there's certainly a way to do exposure that's not correct. Or I can do it in a way that's helpful, and part of that helpful way is not only how quickly I go up, part of it is, what is the person's understanding of why we are doing this?
Yeah.
We are ultimately saying,
Right.
we need to have you to be able to cope with these thoughts versus terrified of them.
That's
We're
right.
thinking that a life in which these thoughts never occur is probably not viable.
Mm-hmm.
I would also argue that in the case of, let's say, a rape victim, she is working on two things. She's working on the horror of the rape. And the other thing, which I've said often, is that, you, Katy, like all women, know that you could be raped. And if it hasn't happened, it's like, yeah, whatever. I mean, yeah, I don't want that to happen, but I'm not worried about it.
Right.
If you're raped,
Yeah.
you never get to live in that world where it's not going to happen.
Right.
You're being asked, you now need to live in a world where that horror that happened to you, that can happen again.
Right.
For the person undergoing treatment, that concept, that's a giant ask.
Yeah.
I have to help that person come to decide, I'm going to learn to live in a world where I can get raped again. Because part of the reason to avoid all rape in imagery and horror is not only to not relive it, but to not know what can happen again.
Right.
So it's an entire cognitive thing I'm needing to do above and beyond just the exposure to the imagery. So I think our models, I think in the purpose of doing research, we do nice research that takes things apart and looks at them in little pieces.
Scalpel-like, right? Yeah.
But when we're putting it together,
yeah,
it's a lot more complex, and that's where I think things tend to get oversimplified. Like, oh,
right.
that's that, and so.
Well, what she's doing particularly, just so that you know, is that they have the NHS over there, which I think affords them some of the research abilities that perhaps we don't have easy access to here sometimes. And anyways, so what they're doing specifically is working with first responders who have like a high propensity for developing post-traumatic stress disorder, and they're looking at this as sort of a preventative type model from preventing the image from settling in the first place.
But I think it's a really incredibly important area to research.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's only one path to having PTSD, and I don't know how much prehistory, and and in terms of what's going to make an image get stuck.
Right.
How much of that is just focus on the image, what she's talking about, trying to stop this process from setting in, versus how much of this has to do with my way of imagining, approaching the whole situation, which is affecting how I'm going to cope with, so is are we really talking about if the image is getting set and now becoming a traumatic image that's bothering me, or does it have to do with, I now understand the world is not what I thought it was, and it's this way, and how much is that modifying how I'm coping with the image and everything? So I think those are all incredible questions. And I think, I think the thing with research, I have to be, one reason we need lots of research and multiple forms of it and replication is because it's often oversimplified, which of course the press makes terrible, because they'll just report any piece of garbage, and then it's like, now it's true, and then it's not true 1 month later, because it's like, well,
now everybody's worried about vaccinating their children, right?
Well, no, those are people who are just stupid, because we already have the data. I mean, that's
we do. We actually have really conclusive data. Okay.
Yeah.
We have a question from Australia. All right.
Hey.
So, yeah, I know.
Cool.
I have tried ERP on and off in the past, and it hasn't really helped, mainly because I struggled with identifying my anxiety with a number on hierarchies. Wait. So I think what they're saying is that they were trying to figure out how to identify how to rate their anxiety, and we hear this a lot, right? People come into therapy and they're like, well, everything's a 10 out of 10, right? If we're using that scale, everything's a 10 out of 10, and then we have to work on anchoring the scale. I don't know if I ever told you guys this. My husband, he's a psychologist as well, and he used to do pain management work. and he would put being lit on fire as number 10 because we have
On
to
the
have a
pain
way to
scale.
anchor the scale, right? We have to have an anchor for our scale. So anyways, what do you guys think? What are ways that you
Oh,
help
well,
to
well, wait. I would say to her,
I think it's a him, Liam.
Mm.
oh, I would say to him,
Hmm.
I don't believe I could be wrong since I know nothing about you, but I don't think exposure failed for the reason you're saying. I don't know whether you were pursuing the goal of exposure, which is, was your goal in doing exposure to live with uncertainty? Was your goal to say, these things might really happen, and what I need to learn to do is to try to cope with them in a positive way, no matter what it is, if the worst happens? If that was your goal and it didn't work, I'm wrong. But if you had some, but if that wasn't your goal, well, you're getting lost in the weeds, but you're not really dealing with the important issue, which is, what is the goal of exposure? You know, it's not, why is exposure going to help you? So the number and the hierarchies are not so important.
No.
And in terms of hierarchy, it's like, I mean, generally people have some level, even if they can't give a number, they can say, they're all the 10. So if I say do A or B, it doesn't, you don't care which one I pick, or they're both just as bad, because I'm bound to find something that's like, well, yeah, I'd rather do this than that. Okay, that's a less number. Fine.
Right.
Now I've got you
Right.
at 10 and 9.9. Let's go work our way down.
Well, and even if, and even we can, I think, right, like what we were just talking about, which is that now we have other research showing that we don't really need to be following this hierarchy rigidly. We know that. And so to that end, I want to pull in a concept, like an ACT concept, that the question becomes, well, what are you willing to do?
Mm.
Not what number have we assigned to it on our hierarchy, but what are you willing to do? And I think that
with
then
with
we
the
can,
with the idea that ultimately, if you're going to get better, you're going to be choosing to be willing to do it all.
yes.
We can start easier just because it's easier, not because it's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What were you going to say, John?
And even in picking a low item, it depends how I pick it. If it's contamination, picking a level 1 item, that's a crappy exposure. Picking a level 1 item and saying nothing in my house is going to be cleaner than level 1 from now, I'm leveling up the house, that's a good exposure.
Yeah.
If it's just like, I touched this level 1 item and that's it, now I'm going back to my clean, purified little home and I'm not going to touch anything, well, yeah, you're not getting better.
Oh,
So
that's such a good reminder. That's such a good reminder, John.
So although we have levels, but I can still do, it's more than just I'm doing something hard or easy. It's like, how inescapable am I making it? The contamination is easiest to treat, not because it's like somehow magic. It's because contamination is great because we can make it inescapable. So that the next morning you're stuck living with it, versus hit and run where every day is a new day where I'm killing people.
That's
maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
Zach,
I
you
mean,
were
I
going to
think,
say?
yeah, just to go along with what John's saying, I think you see this more often than not, of people getting caught up in things that are not nearly as important, like a number or
Yeah.
how much, because truthfully, it isn't necessarily about what the numbers are. It's about what are you shooting for in the end? So
Yeah.
like you're designing exposures to meet that, not because of some number, right? You're designing it for what is the learning, more or less, you want to have them take place at the end, or the uncertainty that they're going to have to deal with. And so to me, numbers are, in a sense, somewhat irrelevant. I think they're a good guide. They help with structure and they help with staying on task. But
Right.
Early on in my career,
yeah.
I was working with a woman and I asked her to rate something on a 1 to 10 scale, to which she replied, orange. Now, her use of orange was not a color-coded system of danger. Her use of orange was to say, the whole rating thing is stupid.
That's funny.
I like that one.
And she was not without a point. You know,
No.
I mean, more and less, sure, but like, do I need a number? Yeah. So we didn't have numbers.
But as a practical matter, I just want to highlight something that Jon said for Liam, just as
Sure.
an example, right? And so if we use that example of contamination, I know we have to wrap it up here in just a minute. When Jon says like doing a level 1 exposure, but in a way that's inescapable, if we think about this from a contamination perspective, right? So let's say somebody is, you know, has to hand wash, etc., and they're worried about germs from the bathroom getting around their house. So it might be too much for them to just stop washing their hands, or to, you know, go and take a tissue and wipe it around the toilet. But maybe they would be willing to wipe a tissue on an inconspicuous part of the bathroom, right? The far corner of the bathroom, but rub that everywhere around their house. So there's some part of that bathroom that got everywhere. Would that be a good example, Jon?
Want to hear the worst exposure ever?
Oh, let's
Yes.
hear it.
So we're doing
Oh,
the
no.
study. We're doing the study with the where I have people, you know, where they're in a special chamber and they're hooked up to the polygraph. And I'm running the polygraph, and the intern's like, you know, being the therapist. And what we have for the guy to touch is a dried piece of dog poop. And you know,
Sure passed the IRB board, I'm sure.
so you know, it is, you know, first we're seeing, you know, they sit there for 15 minutes. So I have a rest, you know, resting rate, and then it's time for the guy to touch the stuff. And he's not doing it. I mean, he's screwing up my study because it's like 20 minutes has passed and he won't do it. So I finally was like, all right, I have to take this away from the intern. So I walk into the chamber, and the guy goes, he wants me to touch that dog shit. I didn't say a word. I looked him in the eye. I put my hand on the shit, licked my hand.
Oh,
He looked at me and he said, all right. And he put his head on the dog shit.
Science at its finest.
it really is.
It
All
was
right.
a brilliant move. I will leave us with that.
And that, we're going to leave it right there. Looks like a perfect moment to end. All right. For everybody who's joined us today, thank you so much. I've been struggling a little bit with the chat, guys, and so I'm not really confident on seeing everybody's messages, and there seems to be a little delay in the system. So my apologies. If some tech genius wants to come to my rescue at some point, that would be wonderful, because then I wouldn't have to try to figure it out myself, since my co-hosts don't help me. But anyways,
love the passive aggressive comments to end it.
Hey, here's another one. Do you know what a Niggy-sob is?
No.
Niggysob.
No.
It's from a therapy technique that's no longer used, transactional analysis. But and it is unbelievable that nobody knows what a Niggy-sob is, because a Niggy-sob is like, you know, somebody says something, and basically Niggy-sob stands for "now I've got you, you son of a bitch." Yeah, so like the person who's put you in this position is like, you can move in for the kill. How that is not a part of our regular therapeutic vocabulary now, I have no idea. Doesn't it? Niggy-sob.
Now it will be. Now it will be.
You know, and the only reason it came up because, you know, you were attacking poor little Zach and me.
I know, that's right. I was taking the opportunity. I have you right where I know, that's right. There's Zach out there in the snow.
Oh, wait, it's now negative 42 wind chill here.
Okay.
You know, it's like 59
hey, Zach,
here in California.
Yeah.
It's very cold. My Uggs are still
outside.
on.
I'm not gonna.
All right. I feel like I've saved him.
Yeah.
Thank God. All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next month with another episode. Take care.